What if the biggest mistake isn't failing? It's never giving yourself the chance to succeed. If you've probably talked yourself out of opportunities because the odds seem too small, you tell yourself you'll start when you're more confident, when you have more money, more time, or more certainty. And months or years passed, but there's one question that completely changes how you think about risk. Once I started asking it, making difficult decisions became much clearer. These series of questions can be used to reflect on your own life, inspect your own self-doubt, and hopefully come to the conclusion of the courage to act is something that you will never regret. Why are we so afraid of small odds? Why do I naturally focus on what could go wrong instead of what could go right? Self-preservation, for starters. When have I overestimated the cost of failure? What fears have kept me from opportunities I genuinely wanted? Fear of embarrassment, fear of failure, determining what my identity is and feeling less than. Where did I learn that uncertainty is something to avoid? Do I actually fear failure, or do I fear embarrassment and judgment? What opportunity have you postponed because the odds didn't seem high enough? What dream have you convinced yourself is unrealistic? And if fear disappeared today, what would you begin? Probably all of these things that we wait until the right time, wait till we retire, wait till I'll cross it off on my bucket list eventually. But it could also boil down to the fear of delaying the ignition, the start, the beginning. I'll do it in the future, but tomorrow's not guaranteed, and the uncertainty of how it will go, it's easier to push it off into the future. Our future self can handle that stress. They can make that decision. My current self, I just want that instant gratification, that temporary comfort. That's all I ever needed. The lies we tell ourselves. Angles to explore include the brain's negativity bias, survival versus growth, certainty as psychological comfort, and fear of regret versus fear of failure. Another section of questions involve 0% is guaranteed if you never try. Where have I already accepted a guaranteed 0 because I never acted? How many opportunities have I quietly abandoned before giving them a real chance? Have I mistaken thinking for progress? Most certainly. How long have I been preparing instead of creating? Are you protecting yourself from failure or guaranteeing it? What percentage chance exists if you never begin? The answer is always no. The answer is always no if you never ask or if you never try. Angles of exploration include inaction as decision, opportunity cost, and regret of omission versus regret of commission. Another section of questions are 1% chance can become 10. What skills could increase my odds over time? Have I ever started something with low confidence that became second nature? What did consistency accomplish that talent couldn't? How often do I underestimate compounding? What would happen if you simply became 1% better every week? Are the odds fixed, or can you influence them? That saying of 10,000 hours to become a professional or an expert in something, the saying of 20 hours in almost anything, you can become relatively competent in it. At a certain point, You'll be able to identify if this is a pursuit that you feel is worth the effort, the time, the investment. But if you never try, that remains undiscovered. Areas of exploration or angles: skill acquisition, compound improvement, experience, reducing uncertainty, probability, changes through action. Another section of reflection, growth, direction, intelligent risk versus reckless risk. How can I continue meeting my responsibilities while pursuing something meaningful? What unnecessary expenses or distractions could I reduce to create room for this pursuit? What safety nets have I already built? Am I assuming I have to risk everything when I really don't? Could you dedicate 1 hour a day without sacrificing your responsibilities? What's the smallest version of your dream that you could begin this week? All these systems, all these time sinks, distractions, saying we don't have enough time of the day. We all have the same 24 hours. How do we spend them? A lot of times it can disappear engaging in doom scrolling or sources of consumption. And what can be built in those times that can compound over days, weeks, months. It can be something that we grow to look forward to, and that can become something that we never expected, because uncertainty is guaranteed. Angles of exploration include calculated risk, side projects, financial stability, time allocation, risk mitigation instead of risk elimination. Another section of reflection questions are: values can make uncertainty easier. What goals feel meaningful regardless of whether I become famous or wealthy? If success were never guaranteed, what would still be worth creating? What pursuit makes me lose track of time? What kind of work feels like an expression of who I am? What would I pursue even if no one applauded? What kind of life feels deeply aligned with your values? Always focusing on the result, the outcome. I want this result, so I'm only going to do it because I want this, not I'm going to do this because I want to do it, and whatever's result is outside of my control. All we can really control is what we do on a daily basis, what we do in front of us. We can have some ideas for what the outcome might lead to, but if we only do it because of the outcome, then oftentimes the process will be the challenges within the process can result in us quitting altogether, throwing in the towel. The result isn't worth this effort, this pursuit that I don't even enjoy. Angles of exploration include purpose over outcome, identity, intrinsic motivation, and meaningful work. The next section is: what if it actually works? If this succeeded beyond my expectations, how would my life change? What freedoms could it create? Who else could benefit if I succeeded? Am I giving fear more attention than possibility? What if the opportunity you've been avoiding becomes a thing that you're most grateful you pursued? And what if your future self is waiting on one uncomfortable decision? It's very common to think about the fantasy of becoming a millionaire, winning the lottery, what I would do, what freedoms would it create, who else could benefit. But there are quote-unquote lotteries that we can work towards that might not have monetary value, but it might have, what kind of value would it have? A result could be monetary. Another less tangible result can be self-reliance, satisfaction, contentment. Not a peak or a spike of emotion, but a blissful acceptance of, this is what I was working towards, this is what my life has become, this is the lifestyle I was able to sustain. Angles of exploration include hope as a motivator, possibility thinking, future self, and courage despite uncertainty. Deeper reflection questions, therapist observation questions are as follows. Why do people demand certainty from their dreams when almost nothing meaningful in life comes with guarantees? Why is the possibility of failure often more emotionally powerful than the possibility of freedom? What does avoidance temporarily protect us from? How often do people confuse feeling unsafe with actually being unsafe? What identity would someone have to adopt to willingly pursue low probability, high meaning goals? Why do we admire courageous people? Why do we admire courageous people while talking ourselves out of courageous actions? What if confidence isn't something you gain before acting, but something you earn because you've acted? In closing, every meaningful opportunity begins with uncertainty. No one is promised success, but everyone who succeeds had to begin before they knew how it would turn out. If you never try, the answer is already no. But if something aligns with your values, brings you life, and has even the smallest possibility of creating a better life, maybe the question isn't, what if I fail? Maybe the better question is, what if this is the decision that changes everything? If something resonated with you, consider leaving a comment below and sharing what felt most impactful. To support the channel, you can like, subscribe, and/or share this video with someone who you feel might also benefit. Additional ways to support the channel can be found in the links in the description below. You will also find a link to my website, cravingfreedom.com, where you can access my ebooks. On the website, you can also find descriptions of what to expect from the ebooks. And if you feel ready to commit to your path towards freedom and are seeking in-depth guidance and support, consider applying for one-on-one coaching. Answers to frequently asked questions can also be found on the website. Thank you for your time.